Hello everyone, I'm Arshid. Welcome to the new Expert Talk show. On today's episode, we're going to have some insights on change management, especially in the corporate sector. My guest for today is Boz Baral. He has a computer science background and he is currently working as a change management and information security consultant at international banks and consulting firms such as Barclays, HSBC, Nomura, Credit Suisse. So I'd like to welcome my guest for today, Mr. Boz Baral.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm great, thank you very much.
I like to start with your academic life. You were a computer science graduate. What was the motivation behind that?
Actually, when I was young man, like most Nepalese young men of my era, everybody wanted to become either a doctor or engineer. I also wanted to become a doctor, but by accident I joined the Gurkhas. And then when I was in the Gurkhas, I wasn't really happy and I wanted to study. So in the process, I chose to study computer science because I was already too old to study medicine, and I was not probably qualified to study medicine because of my age and lack of relevant A-levels.
So you said you joined the Gorkhas, which is British Defence Force that normally go to Nepal and recruit few people every year. So you were actually recruited from that process.
Correct.
So what is the reason that you decided to join the British Defence Force in the first place?
Well, it was actually not my choice. Like kind of 10 of us from my class of 1982, intermediate of science.
That was like probably 40 years back.
37 years, yeah. I actually didn't want to join, but they kind of pushed me to join, and eventually I was there. Once you're there, you're stuck there for certain years.
So it sounds like you were sort of dragged by the friend circle to recruit on the British Force.
Yes. It is a peer pressure, they call it.
Not from the family, but more from the friends.
Yes. Well, my parents didn't even realize until the day I was about to leave home to join the Gurkhas.
So how's the life after you joined the British Defence Force?
While I was there, I was not from martial caste, so I'm a son of a Brahmin in a brigade Gurkhas, which is predominantly Gurung, Magarai, Limbu.
Yeah.
But I was a clerk.
Office work rather than the martial.
Well, you had to do everything that other soldiers did, but in addition, you had to do some office work as well. So you were seen as a slightly academic bunch of guys. So it was not too bad, but then I was I got too bored too quick, and I wanted to change my profession. So as soon as I came to the UK, I wanted to go back to university and study. And then that's when I left the army. As soon as I came to the UK in the 90s, I wanted to go to the uni, and uni wanted a lot of money. And at that time,
especially for international
students, because I was not treated as a home student despite having served in the British Army for many years.
Was there many people like you at that time on your group, especially in the army, or you were the only one who stood up to go to academic while serving the defense?
There were actually some friends who were studying part-time. I was also studying part-time for 2 years because my ISC qualification from Nepal was only equivalent to GCSE here, which wouldn't allow me to go to university. So I had to have kind of A-level qualification or Higher National Certificate. So I did part-time 2 years Higher National Certificate while I was still with the army. Probably I was one of those few ones who went straight from army barracks to the University Hall of Residence as a full-time student with students who were half my age. I was 36 and most of them were 18.
Right. So once you graduated in computer science, that was probably in
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
And then you moved to the banking sector.
No, I actually wanted to work in banking sector. As a software developer. I actually got a job as a software developer with an investment bank, but they would only offer me a year's contract.
Oh, okay.
But then I was still a foreigner at the time, so I needed a longer visa. I spent so much money studying, so I wanted to recoup some of this money. And then I was 36 already when I join the uni. So by the time I finished my degree, I was almost
that was quite late study for
Very-
especially, right?
Yeah, and
But
then
it's a good motivation for those people who are sort of diluted with the age.
yeah, age
mean,
is not a
that's-
barrier in this country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see on you
It's
as an
only
example.
Nepalese or Asian concept you have to study when you're very young. Here you just do it, whatever you like to do it, and then
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable, go back to university, study whatever you
Yeah.
need to study, and then equip with the knowledge
Yeah.
and apply the job that you want
I
to
think
do.
that's absolutely makes sense, and I think especially in our country like Nepal, we probably want to finish the academic first and then hunting for the job, which is not really correct, isn't it?
No, because they have no experience of anything, and they
Exactly.
just want. And if you talk to somebody, they say, "Oh, I've got a master's degree in something or PhD. I want to join as a middle manager." You can't become a middle manager just because you've got a degree.
Yeah, exactly. You have
from
to
the bottom.
start entry level, isn't it? Yeah.
So here everybody starts, whether you've got a PhD
So-
or bachelor's or master's, everybody starts at a graduate level job.
Right.
Then you build up your portfolio. Then you wherever you will be fit, you'll be placed, or you apply for a place, and
Right.
if you're successful, you get there. If
Did you go to teaching or you go to banking sector?
No, initially I went to teaching because I actually had applied for a postgraduate certificate in education, PGCE, which was required to teach in a state school here. So I had a place at King's College. But then at the same time, I had applied for a teacher's job in a couple of boarding schools. And in boarding schools at that time, you wouldn't need postgraduate certificate in education. So you
So
could,
graduation was enough.
yeah, I did apply for a couple of at a couple of schools, and in two places I was offered jobs. So I went to the one in Kent. I got a job there as a teacher, and I taught for a couple of years. But after a year or two, when my job was permanent, then I applied for permanent residency in this country. And as soon as I got the permanent residency,
You are
I
free to
joined
go anywhere.
Anywhere, yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Then I joined banking.
How's your experience with the recruitment process with the banking? Did you start at an entry level or you join in the middle?
More or less, because I had obviously military experience in office management area, and also some kind
Was
of,
that help?
yes, so obviously certain attributes from the military are always useful, like you're very punctual, you can plan well, you stick to it,
Time management.
diligence, all
Yeah.
these are very useful attributes in any profession you migrate to. So
Yeah.
when I applied for a job at banking, I applied as a business analyst. It was just above an entry level job.
Oh, right.
No, I joined as a contractor. I didn't want the permanent job because
Oh,
I
right.
wasn't sure whether I would fit in there.
Fit
So
in,
if
okay.
you're permanent, then you have graduate entry, then associate, then you have a vice president.
Yeah.
In banking, normally you have analyst, and then you've got, depending on the banks, American banks or British banks, they have
Different.
assistant vice president, and then
Right.
vice president, and then
Yeah.
director and managing director.
Right.
Those are the jobs in British banking
That's the hierarchy for the positions.
for the position. So
How's the experience with the working in the bank?
it's extremely fast. Majority of the people do job very well. Majority of people are very sharp. They are well spoken. Many people have been to good universities, even public schools. So, and very, very professional, very ethical. So whatever you do, you have to be extremely knowledgeable. You can never say that you don't know anything, because if you are supposed to do something, you're supposed to know something already.
Exactly.
So nobody will teach you there.
Yeah.
Unless you're a graduate, people will give you an opportunity
To shadow
learn.
some time.
shadow, but other people, no. From day one, you have to be able to deliver.
How you keep up to date with all these tight deadline and fast moving corporate culture? How do you manage that?
Well, it's the discipline, isn't it? Like in the military, you always plan and plan well and plan realistically. So when you plan realistically, if you have any issues, you can flag up straight away. So when you're given a task, they will also give you a timeline, budget, resourcing, and everything.
Yeah.
So if you can't make it, then you have to, as you feel that you can't deliver on time, you just have to flag it straight away and seek help from the management that you need X, Y, Z to deliver that job, because they're all sensible people. So if there is a genuine need, then they will offer help. But if there is no need and you're not capable, then probably they'll ask you to leave.
Yeah.
So quite simple. Yeah, it's a teamwork in every organization. So if somebody says, "I'm no," then that's not going to work. And so if you don't know anything, you just ask peers or ask your seniors. Or they're always in this day and age, there are always the internet. So if you're working in banking, they have FCA directories. So they have Securities and Investments Institute, SII. So where you can get all the information. So rather than you saying, "Oh, I don't know about this," you can just first go into those resources
and try to dig more information.
Correct.
as much
and
as you
everybody
can.
And nobody is born with knowledge. They just have to acquire it. So you just go to the right place and learn the stuff and then do it. It will take slightly longer, but you can deliver it. Except certain things like if you're supposed to work in programming, then you have to have not fluency in the language at least. Then you have to have ability to interpret the pseudocode or the design into the language.
Which area you were focused while working in the bank?
In banking, I was working in change management, program management, due diligence management, good governance, etc. So it's all change.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that side? Some people are not very aware of what is change management.
For example, let's take into account the current day scenario. So at the moment, you pay your bills by tapping your phone onto a machine. Do you do that?
Okay. Pretty much everyone does that.
15 years ago, you didn't, did you?
We didn't have that facility.
You didn't have that facility. So how did that happen? So they employ people like me, change management people, change management in information technology, so program management team, and they will have the direction from the business that they want in a year's time people to tap their phone and pay the bills. So that's what the management wants. So in order to do that, they will task their chief information officer to make that kind of change in their computer system. So then the chief information systems officer will hire, because normally they don't have enough staff to do things more than what they're doing on a daily basis. So they have to hire change management people, consultants, and then a team who will develop that kind of system for them according to their desire, their plan and specification, and integrate into their system. And once it's integrated and it's successful, the team will be laid off. And if there are other changes, then they will be given those changes to carry out.
Makes sense. So basically, my understanding to the change management would be probably if you want to rule out something as a new technology or new advancement or new workflow, then you hire people like you to apply and deploy that process within the organization.
Either their changes are different types, different sorts. Some of the changes are technological changes, because modern day changes are
mostly driven by technology, isn't it?
Mostly driven by technology, and the other changes are driven by the regulators. Because of the changes we have in technology, we have a lot of vulnerability in our system. Because there is a lot of vulnerability, then the regulator will say, look, in order to safeguard people's money, people's assets, and people's data, you have to implement this and that.
Makes sense.
When the regulator asks organizations to make change so that they are more safe, then the organization have to make those changes in their system. And so either the changes are driven by the business requirement caused by the technological changes, or by the regulator asking them to make a safer environment for people, people's data, etc.
Working with a bank, you dealing with very crucial data, more sensitive data, especially financial data. You don't want to compromise at any point. So I think the regulator really strict that within every company that deal with the financial sector. So I'm sure not just the academic life, but I think you have to be aware of some process level or policy level, due diligence level, knowledge,
Yes.
and how do you gather the knowledge to enable yourself?
Well, normally when let's say a regulator wants you to change something, they will ask you to do certain thing, and they will not tell you how to do it, but they will tell you what to do.
Makes sense.
So they will say, look, people's data must be safe.
Yeah.
So as an organization, you have to make sure that people's data is safe. The regulator may not say how.
Yeah.
But
that's the company.
That's company. They have to employ all sorts of modern methods
and experts,
and make data safe.
Right.
So where they store doesn't matter. How they use doesn't matter, but it has to be made safe. But then when in the process of using it there are any issues, then the regulator will say, oh, you have to use in this way, and you can't use in that way. So also the regulator will say, oh, you cannot take your data from A to B, or if you have to take data from A to B, you have to use this mechanism.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, underlying principle would be to keep the data safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I want to slightly go to your consulting experience as well. I know you work with the bank for a few years, and then, if I'm correct, you moved to the consulting sector as well.
Yes, I first joined banking by, again, it was everything in my life was by accident, because joined the army, accident, teacher, accident, banking, accident. And then when I was in banking, a consulting company invited me whether I would like to work for them. And I thought, oh, fantastic! Because
what was the consulting firm?
It's a very small consulting firm called Lissus Financial.
Right.
Actually, they later asked me to work as their partner in one sector. It was a really good job, but I didn't want to take that job because it was a bit too much for me. And while I was working with them, I was more comfortable with due diligence management as well. So,
have you used any particular tool to run due diligence check?
Well, due diligence is normally, it's not just one tool that is sufficient.
But is there any example you have used?
Yeah, normally some consulting firms, they have their own, they develop their own system.
Yeah.
And some of the banks, they have their own system.
Like Thomson Reuters has WorldSec.
All these kind of systems are also constantly
evolving,
and different organizations develop their own systems, but some of them are common across many organizations.
Yeah.
Especially those developed by well-known firms.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Reuters, Hewlett Packard, or big consultancies.
Yeah.
IBM or something. If they manufacture something, they can easily sell their stuff to other people.
Exactly.
But then none of the system covers everything in due diligence, because it's a huge area.
Yeah.
And proceeds of crime is not easy to identify in modern day.
Yeah, especially with the technology.
It's a crime everywhere. Yeah.
Exactly.
My philosophy is called crime everywhere.
Working in the consulting is different from the banking sector. Do you see any difference?
No, let's talk about the graduates. Yeah, if you're a graduate, most consulting firms and most big banks, they want you even to apply. They want 2-1 at your first degree. Yeah, doesn't matter you have master's, PhD, doesn't matter. But they want.
You
2-1.
need a good credit.
2-1 minimum.
Yeah.
If you don't have 2-1, they don't even allow you to apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once you've got 2-1, then you might, through the interview process, you might succeed. If you succeed, if it's in a consulting firm, you work in that chosen area of consulting for a certain period of time.
Right.
Then, depending on your ability, you move upwards. Same with banks. You go in the bank as a new entry graduate or analyst. Sometimes most banks rotate you in 2 years' time in 4 different places. So 6 months placement in each area.
Yeah.
So in those areas, you can learn the way they operate.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe in some organizations, after 2 years, you can become promoted as well. You can also get promoted.
Right.
In some organizations, you can get promoted after 4 years. Or sometimes technology graduates get promoted after 4 years. Other graduates get
maybe in 2 years.
2 years' time.
Yeah.
And also sometimes people don't get promoted for many years, because it's down to individual's ability and
performance.
Performance, etc. And also, don't forget, everybody is equally capable. nobody is weaker than you. That's the concept, because everybody has been to the best schools and all that kind of stuff. But one thing they're not bothered in banking and consulting is what subject you've studied.
Yeah.
As a graduate, you don't have to be an expert. You have to have an ability to pick up things very quickly. You have to be smart. So you don't ask people constantly, oh, what is this, how to do it. So you just go and find how to do it.
But I think at some point, like having like particular degree, let's say having medicinal degree or maybe computer science degree or legal degree, definitely help to focus on certain area within the firms,
but then
right?
banking is huge, consulting is huge.
So they have multiple sector and multiple practices.
You can if you've got a degree in medicine, then you can work as a consultant in hospitals.
Yeah, makes sense.
You don't have to work in banking. But having said that, I've seen a guy who's got a dentistry degree. He was working in banking because he said his parents forced him to do a dentistry degree, but after he finished the degree and worked for a couple of years as a dentist, he didn't like it, so he wanted to go back into banking as a graduate.
What do you see the banking sector is heading in next 5 to 10 years? I mean, it's a very general question.
Banking, nowadays we have a lot of challenges from these disturbing technologies. So everywhere is a disturbance. All these fintechs and things, they're just constantly trying to push push barriers, and then all the legacy systems are really getting tired, and legacy businesses are getting tired, and sometimes they feel like they can't compete with these new technologies. But then on the back of it, they also need those legacy systems and legacy banks. So I think the traditional banks will continue, but there will be surprises everywhere, and nobody knows, because like younger people like you can come up with something completely different and then challenge the traditional banks.
Makes sense.
So nobody, if somebody says, oh, it'll happen, just like many years ago somebody said the world will need 2 computers or 3 computers, it's just ridiculous. At that time maybe he was right, but 10 years down the line he was wrong. So
we never know.
So now if technology, nobody can say anything. If they say something firmly, I think they're fools.
Right. So I want to go to a slightly different area in the talk. I know you work with this multinational bank and they have different hiring process, and hopefully, I mean, if I'm correct, you are also involved on recruiting some of the people under you as well. So what's the hiring process like?
Well, there are 2 ways of hiring. One they hire skilled manpower. The other one is entry level. And entry level is managed by the internal HR process. For internal HR nowadays, they have different sort of the organizations go to universities to lure students, good students. And they have also
graduate recruitment
program, and then they have also a very innovative way of selecting CVs. Because some of the CVs, they want to be very transparent. They don't want to discriminate people on the basis of their gender, on the basis of their color. So they have so many ways of neutralizing the CVs first, and then picking up the people based on the talent, purely on the talent, rather than the connections and other biased stuff. So that's what they're doing it. And then once you've got these interviews through, then you start the job. And some organizations, they have so many layers of interviews, like
technical interview.
Well, first of all, most of them they have to go through the online stuff. Once they pass, sure, they're the big ones. I don't think they have phone calls, but they have online ones. And once you pass those online ones, you have physical interviews, and sometimes they have physical competitions,
like face-to-face competition,
tests as well. And based on that, they will select. They just want to select the best one. I don't think there is any kind of discrimination. Discrimination is there when you can't really do it, and then somebody is better than you, and then he gets the position, and you feel that, oh, I was better than that.
Do you think that having education in good institution help?
Oh yes, certainly helps. I mean, that's why my son went to public school, and then I even tell parents, if you can afford to send your children to public school, only if you can afford. Don't constrain yourself. Yes, don't stretch too much, and don't leave too much money to them. But if you can, in the Western countries, send them to best schools. You can. Yeah. And the next bit is send them to best universities. But then sending them to best universities is not under your control, because the children are already too clever, too grown up, and they want to make the decision. But sending them to school is your decision. a child cannot say they can say I don't like this school, I don't like that, but then they will settle within a few months.
I mean, it's definitely expensive to send to
Yeah.
the private.
No, there's so many ways of doing it. There's so many ways. There are options. If your child is sharp, you can send them anywhere in this country. There's so many options. You just have to explore. And secondly, give them the best possible education. Doesn't mean that like in traditional sense you have to study science or medicine, but whatever area they're good at, give them opportunity to excel in that area.
Makes sense.
If they have good voice, just send them to singing school. If they're good at acting, send them to acting school, drama school. If they're good at writing, send it to arts school. And just whatever area they're good at. Don't try to make everybody a doctor, engineer, or solicitor, or whatever.
I think that the whole concept with the young parents is definitely changing or evolving in a good direction, so that they have more freedom to the kids.
Sure.
But saying that, is still we, as you said, we are from different background and different family culture, and that sometimes restrict the openness to the children, I guess.
Yeah, that is. But then I think we have to change with the times. I mean, if we don't change, we become extinct like dinosaurs. So in order to survive, you have to embrace the change. So because we're let's say for example, we're in this day and age, we have to change with the technology, with the time, with the environment, with the society. So we have to change. So I think if you can, send your child to the best schools, and then obviously always, as you asked the question, the best institution will always help the person
get prioritized,
better opportunities. And also, there is a stigma attached to weaker schools.
I'm not sure if you have watched the Suits, the Netflix show. There is scenario the legal firm. They just hire the graduates from Harvard.
I'm not surprised.
So that was TV serial, but sounds like I tried.
No, that's real, because I went to, because I go to some networking events in the city, and if you go to Magic Circle, there isn't. You know the Magic Circle?
Heard about it.
It's one of the best law firms in the city, and you will hardly find a non-white solicitor there. It's not exception nowadays. You might find one or two as a token representative, and not even many ladies. I guess it's a white middle to upper class public school, and not only minor public school, good public school students.
I think
so that was the tradition, but nowadays, because of the law and things, they are trying to push people from ordinary background there, people from different color and
it's more diverse now.
Yeah, it is diverse. Same like go to Oxford universities now. I think 40% of the students are, I think, a state school. I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah, not public.
Yeah, definitely.
But still, if you've got an opportunity, go to the best.
Working as a full-time employee and working as an independent consultant. Do you see any difference there?
Well, there is I think work-wise, it's more or less the same kind of work, but there's more pressure as a consultant, because you have rigid timelines.
As an independent consultant.
Independent or even a consultant, you have because a client, when a client needs consultants, they have a set amount of work, set amount of budget, and set amount of time to deliver certain things.
So it's more stressful.
Very stressful. Whereas as an employee, you call it business as usual, BAU. So BAU is kind of you can do at your own pace.
Yeah.
Although it's much faster than any other professions, but still there is more. It's
you get little liberty.
There's little bit liberty.
Yeah.
Whereas in consulting, there isn't one aspect, the way we operate there. Knowledge-wise, if you're a BAU or employee there, you can always make an excuse. Oh, I don't know this. Can you send me on a training course?
Yeah.
But as a consultant, you can't say, oh, can you send me on a training course? Because they don't pay you for that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you have to know everything. If you don't know it, don't take up that particular role. For consulting, but then if you work as an independent consultant, you must know it. But if you work as a part of the consulting firm, then if you don't know it, you can seek help from
other people,
other colleagues in the team, or the manager, project manager, would probably give you something that you know, and give something you don't know to the people they know. So there is a comfort there, but then as an independent consultant, you don't have a comfort. But the major difference is in rewards, benefits. As a consultant, independent consultant, you probably get the highest daily rate, but you don't get any pension. You don't get any holidays.
And even you have to pay your own tax.
Everything, you have to pay your own tax, everything, you do it, everything. But you get a comfortable rate of pay. If you work for a consulting firm, unless you're at a director level, compared to the independent consultant, salaries are low. And also, there you get holidays. You get pension and all that. So you get everything like you get as an employee, but you still are called a consultant. So if you like the word consultant, that's the better route.
So I'd like to quickly go from our mainstream talk to a slightly different topic. Do you read any particular books?
I'm not a great reader, actually. I write poems when I get bored.
I've seen few in Facebook.
Yeah, I actually used to write when I was in the army since 1984.
But, yeah,
I've been writing in the army's magazine called The Parbati. So since I've been writing all the time. When I get bored, I just write.
Keep up to date with all these updates, especially in the professional sector. Do you follow any particular news or any particular magazine?
I don't buy paper-based books, and I don't buy paper-based magazines at all.
Try to save the trees.
Yes, but then I subscribe to many of these online ones. If I need certain confirmation on something, I go to Google Scholar. And I also go to many events. So when there are events happening, relevant events, I'll go to them.
You participated in one of the event recently,
yes,
which is called Nepal Banking Summit 2019 in September.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, it was actually a surprise to me because
and you were one of the international speakers as well.
Nepal's first banking summit on 17th, the first banking summit, and they wanted people from all over the world if possible. So some people, organizers, knew me, and they said, "Oh, would you like to come over?" And so I went there, and I had a presentation, a 20-minute presentation, and an hour moderation of a panel. So it was good fun, and I met many friends that I met in 2011, and they are now high up in the banking organization there. Some of them recognized me, some of them didn't. But it was good fun, and I had an opportunity to chat to Nepal Bankers Association, and some of the things that I recommended in 2011, like rating agency stuff, mergers and acquisitions, they are now taking place.
Okay.
So it's good to see that. But maybe it's not just because I said to them. Maybe it was time that they felt themselves.
Right.
But there are a couple of rating agencies. I'm not sure how efficient they are, and
but at least there are some vibes.
There is a presence now. But I said now you have to focus on getting a rating for the country, which is more important to get the loans, etc. So I think I've been told that they are also looking into it. But my particular area of presentation was trend in modern banking. So I had to do a 20-minute presentation on modern banking and its trend, and I had to moderate.
So who are the audience? Just banking people? Or?
People from banking, fintech, and what else? Government employees.
So basically most of the corporate personnel.
Maybe all corporate in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and people from banks. Private and state banks, Rashtra Bank, and Chamber of Commerce.
Sounds like
and fintech.
Definite help to gather the knowledge.
Yes, wish they had done it slightly differently, and they had invited more younger entrepreneurs. But I did meet a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young fintech people.
Really. So it's definitely a good start.
Very good start. I think. Well, being a first conference, there were some teething issues, but I'm sure next year it'll be
much more
powerful. Useful, powerful, and I hope they will support.
In Nepalese banking corporate culture, I'm sure you must have few friends there and you probably share the knowledge. So what's your opinion towards the banking culture, corporate culture here and then Nepal?
Obviously, here is really ethical, because of the regulator here, you cannot be unethical. I'm sure in Nepal also they are ethical by Nepalese standard, but I'm not sure whether they're ethical by international standard. And also the regulatory body there is the Rashtra Bank. And
So it's the same body, right?
the body that makes the rules is the bank, is the body that regulates. So it's like a tick box exercise for them to say, yes, this is what we asked for you, and this is what you've done. So I've always
Sounds like a dictatorship there.
I've always suggested that there should be an independent regulatory body, but I don't think they will ever have an independent regulatory body. And also, all the opportunities and roles in the banks are not in the private banks, but government banks are politically aligned. So as a result of it, ethical practices are far less common, I guess. But in investment banks and private banks, obviously they're working towards profit. And if they can sometimes deviate from the ethics, they can, as long as they keep the ruling regulator and Rashtra Bank happy. Many big banks are making a lot of money because they're all remittance driven, I guess.
Independent consultant like you, do you see going back to Nepal and working as an independent consultant to this banking sector, or you don't think there is high opportunity?
The way we work here you have to work extremely transparently. Whereas there, I think you have to work to satisfy your boss. Although, having said that, they have representative offices of the big consulting firms, international consulting firms there, but I haven't been able to be in touch with them, so I don't know how they operate. Sometimes all the international representatives, as soon as they are in the third world country, they operate the way third world operates. That's my fear. But are the consultancies, the international consultancies operating in Nepal, are they operating as per the international standards, or they're operating like any other Nepalese firm?
I don't have very banking knowledge, and I'm just a normal user, but I think the push-ups that the central bank in Nepal is doing for all this merging thing with to be a bigger bank rather than having hundreds of banks there. I think that's definitely the good approach to move forward.
Yes, they're doing it now, but just by merging for the sake of merging, acquiring for the sake of acquiring, is not really constructive. So there must be a need to do that, and they have to be all assessed. And if even a smaller firm is going to do well, they can stay. They don't have to be under somebody else. But if even a big organization, they're struggling, then they should be either they should lose their license, or they should
collaborate with
other companies which are doing well. You can't have somebody from political alignment in banks. You need completely independent people. Like, look at the Bank of England. We have governor from Canada. Nobody is bothered about the politics of the country. They're just interested in the economy of the country. So we have to have in Rashtra Bank people who are totally interested in the economy of the country.
For the academics or the graduates that's soon graduating in Nepal, do you see they have opportunity to grow as a career within the country, especially in the Nepalese financial sector like banks?
They want somebody with a relevant degree, because here we don't need really relevant degree. You graduate capable.
It definitely helps, but it's not required.
Here, well, it helps, but only in certain. If you want to become a medical doctor, you need a medical degree. If you want to be a software developer, you don't need a software degree. You have to be able to program and code that stuff. If you want to be, let's say, other kind of architecture, you need to have architecture degree because you can't just learn it in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
But if you want to become a consultant, you can study anything. You can go in banking. There isn't even a degree called banking in top universities. They're finance degree.
Yeah, or economics.
Economics or finance, yeah. So if you've got finance or economics, you can go into banking. But you can go into banking with software. You can go into banking with law degree. You can go to banking with anything. Whereas in our case, they're more rigid. They say, we want this qualification. And also, not only that, sometimes they say, we want masters. Somebody with master's degree.
They set the benchmark with the qualification.
Yes, they set the benchmark with the minimum degree academic certificate, not their ability.
Yeah.
So if they had, let's say, graduate and we interview you.
I'm sure like few banks, some of my colleagues work as a manager there. They now have some graduates recruitments or internship, I think the better way. I think that's probably the positive way to go.
Yes, they have. I think banks have got internship, but
I don't know how they laid out later, but at least like I think that's a positive way to approach the talent.
I think the Nepalese banking sector is quite small, and then there are a lot of people who want to study and work in bank. So there's a lot of it's a huge population, but small market because we are 30 million, quite a big population. Our banking industry is not that big, and our consulting industry
in terms of revenue and things like that.
Exactly. So I think, but then if they're capable, the best bet is to come to the countries like in the West, like come to Britain, do a year's masters, and at that time, if you're capable, you've already got a bachelor's degree, so you can apply for jobs anywhere. If you're intelligent, if you're capable, you can get a job already.
Or you come for a master.
And don't come here for bachelor's because you have to study for 3 years. It's expensive.
And it's expensive,
yeah. But just come in for masters, which is 1 year's study, just £10,000, and then you get maybe 2 years visa. But 1 year you can finish a degree, and you've got another year to apply for jobs. And if you're sharp, you get a job. Basic university is fine, but you have to go to proper university, not to these colleges, and don't get fooled by all these things like £1,000 cheaper or £2,000 cheaper. At the end of the day, you're not. Although the degree is from the
affiliated from the university,
but still you don't have this environment there. So maybe none of the big firms go for recruitment there. And just environment is very important.
I think you definitely get more privilege and facility in the university.
If you go to university, and also you have got wider scope there.
So I think we pretty much cover the conversation that we plan to cover on this talk. But I think I probably want to ask you some guideline for the fresh graduate. Let's say if someone is just graduating and if he plans to work in financial sector or Fortune 500 company, do you have any recommendation for them or guideline for them?
Yeah, I think whatever subject one is studying, they have to first look up for internship after the first year, after the second year as well, and after the third year of the degree. So constantly look out for the internship. And when you apply for internship, look out for different summer intern, they call it, between July, August, September.
I think 3 months.
Yeah, July, August, September. So even if you're doing your first year of the degree, at the end of the first year, you apply for. And then also, don't wait too late. So if you're going to finish your degree in May next year, so you have to keep applying for jobs from now.
Yeah.
Because most organizations, they will offer a job by March. And so that by May, June, when you finish your degree, you'll start working with them.
On the next day.
Yeah, but some of the Nepalese students say, I haven't finished my degree. Then once I finish my degree, I'll apply for one. I haven't finished my thesis. You have to finish your thesis within a year's period when you're doing it. Within 3 years, you have to finish your degree and you have to finish your thesis, and you should have applied for job as soon as you finish your second year. As soon as you start your third year, you have to apply for jobs. Before that, you have to constantly apply for internships. If you get an internship, try to network as much as possible, learn as much as possible, prove to these people that you are employable, you have ability to work in a team, and you will pick up things very quickly. So if you prove that kind of attributes, people will like you. And the next time when you come back for proper job, then it'll be much easier as well.
Yeah.
And also in banking and consulting, there's so many varieties of roles.
Yeah.
So don't say, oh, I just want to do this. I was talking to my son a few months ago and said, oh, I don't like that. And I said, no, don't say that, because you just go and try that job. You may not like it, but then more you do it, you might like it.
Yeah.
'Cause
I think you have to start from somewhere.
yeah, because like when you're a kid, you didn't like any greens. But as you grow older, you sometimes become vegan.
Yeah.
The same person who didn't like greens becomes a vegan.
Yeah.
It's just the time.
That's a gradual process,
Yeah,
I guess.
people change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and don't ever say no to anything. Just be positive, and apply for internships in different levels of. There are banks. There are top-notch banks, A-level banks, B-level banks, C-level banks. So apply at 3 different levels.
Yeah.
So if you can't succeed there,
I think you can directly go to companies or Fortune 500
yeah,
company.
you go direct to them, not through agency.
Yeah.
And also for consultancies, you can go to Big Four and other feeder companies, other agencies. So you apply at different levels. So you might think you're super duper, you may not get a role at top-notch organization, but then you might get at the second level organization, or third level. And once you're somewhere there, then you can move to the top ones.
I have some people who decided to finish the academic master or PhD and then apply for job, and I feel like you should have some experience before you go for PhD or maybe for master.
For that, I have one philosophy here, because in the UK, if you're trying to do a job, nobody studies PhD first, unless you want to be a lecturer at
or
university.
academics.
Everybody applies for jobs as soon as they finish their bachelor's. Yeah,
Or on the last year.
just before the last year. Actually, that means you get a job after the bachelor. If they don't get a job, then they might do masters.
Right.
But they are constantly applying for jobs. And if they don't get a job at masters, then they might want to do a PhD. If you're going to do a job, why do you need a PhD? Because you're going to get the same salary, whether you do PhD or masters or bachelors, it's the same salary. Why do you want to waste another 6 years of studies and start the same salary?
Yeah,
and then
makes sense.
somebody, in 6 years' time, you can become a vice president in a bank.
Yeah.
Why do you want to, after 6 years, you want to become an analyst?
Yeah.
Unless you don't find a job at masters. And why do you want to waste your time doing nothing? If you're capable of studying further, please do study.
I think we pretty much at the end of the show. Thank you very much for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Really fantastic speaking
Thank
with
you.
you. I hope you watched the show and find it useful. If you have any questions or comment, please email us at TheExpertTalks@gmail.com, or you can comment on our YouTube channel. And I'll come up with a new episode with a new expert next time. Enjoy the show. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.